Welcome to the podcast, Eye for Talent, the show where we have an eye for talent. I'm your host, Dylan, aka DJ Cereal Sauce. I'm a YouTube content creator, very occasional Twitch streamer, producer mostly. And joining me is my wonderful guest. He is a Twitch streamer, technically a soon-to-be YouTube content creator. I've said multiple times he is the voice of a voice actor. Many people have told him he is the voice of a voice actor, and also self-proclaimed charismatic protagonist. Welcome to the show, that guy DP. How's it going, man? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. It's so glad to be here. Charismatic protagonist and the voice of what a lot of people say is something that I should usually use this talent for. The talent of voice acting and something other and something along those lines. I hear it all the time. I might give it a shot, so I might go ahead and see what I'll do in the future, doing something with this voice of mine. Glad to be here, though.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on. I appreciate you taking the time to pay me a visit in my little fake recording booth that is actually just my room, because this is being recorded over Discord. Spoiler alert. I'm actually curious about the voice actor thing immediately, because I've actually talked to a fair amount of people and had weird conversations with people who either are voice actors or who have delved in the realm of it or are looking to be in voice acting. Have you looked up anything regarding like anything about it, or is it kind of more just like what a lot of people do, where it's like, oh, you can do an accent really well, or oh, you have a voice of a main character, you should do that? Like, have you gone any further than just receiving compliments about it and thinking, no, maybe I could do it?
Well, oftentimes when I go to like gaming conventions and anime conventions, for example, Level Up Expo that took place in Las Vegas last year, they had a voice actors tryouts all throughout the weekend, and one of my friends that came with me, they were really talking with me about, Derek, you should do this. This is like your field. You should definitely go for it. And it was always in the back of my head, like, man, should I try for it? Should I really take the time to just put the focus in there? And here and there recently, like a couple of my friends would send me like links to these to like tweets of folks that are out there looking for just random voice actors to just voice like characters in their game or something along those lines. And it has been in thought for a long time. I really have been thinking about it, and I kind of want to branch out. I want to see what can happen if I do dive into that realm of voice acting. I feel like I can pull it off if I put my mind to it, but we're just gonna have to see. Like I said, I hear it all the time at my job. People, one of my homies, viewers recently sent me like a voice acting preferences Google form. So I think she wants to do some kind of project where we can just voice act over videos with our own voices or something like that, just for the fun of it. And I feel like that's a good start. So I might start from there, actually. You might see me in the future doing some voice over content.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but I guess, yeah, if you do ever happen to like fully commit to any kind of project, even if it's just something as simple and silly as dubbing over another YouTube video or like a snippet of a show or something, I'd be happy to have you send it my way, because I find a lot of fascination in the voice acting realm, and especially what people learn from being in the space. Because there's definitely a lot of us that are like, a lot of us are like, we get told that we have a particular voice for a particular type of character, or you have a wide variety and range of voices and tones and accents and whatnot, and people are always like, you could be a great voice actor, never minding the fact that like it's usually less about the voice and more about the acting portion of it. And it's always kind of fascinating to see how people grow into their little voice acting sort of character, and all the things that they learn that go along with it, that go beyond the point of just, oh, I have a voice and can read a script off kind of well. So I find it kind of fascinating. And I will say one thing I've noticed a lot is like or I guess I shouldn't say, like, I've noticed your tendency to play a fair bit of like story-driven games as well. And in doing so, it obviously usually requires that you're at least voicing the characters to give them some amount of emotion to get people to pay attention to what's happening in the story. So it seems like hopefully maybe that could be your first foray into figuring out how to get into a character a little bit. I doubt it was intentional. I'm sure most people are playing story games because they find them fascinating. I doubt that you were doing that with the intention of like, I'm going to voice act for these characters one day. But it is funny that it also happens to fall right into your niche of like the types of content that you're making, and how it could immediately serve as like a perfect pipeline into being like a startup voice actor in a sense.
Because when it comes to playing like those story-driven games, and if there is dialogue to read, I definitely always just read it in like just the personality of what the character looks like or something like that. So I'm always kind of just practicing doing something like if it was like a New York accent or something like that, or something along those lines. I always just put myself out there and just like talking that voice as best as I could. It's just a fun time, just even reading like a dialogue heavy game of any sort. That's why um I always have a fun time regardless. I mean, it might be a single player title, but I make the most of it. I make the best of it. And every time that there's some kind of like silent or quiet dialogue to read, I always make the what I can a fun time for everybody to look at. And maybe there's some talent that might be eyeing out there, looking at me. So I'll go for that too when the opportunity ever comes.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited to see where that ends up going because again, it's always a fascinating thing to see people try and dive into that kind of market and for people to like
Yeah.
start off making content in like in one field and then shift to or not even really shift but like to add on to that go into another field that
Yeah.
because it just like diversifies where people can see you and it's funny to it's almost like a guest feature in a way where imagine you're watching something and then you hear a voice that sounds kind of familiar and you're like wait hold on is that guy DP.
That's gonna happen. I promise that's gonna happen in the near future for sure. Once I get into the shenanigans and see how my friends do it, because one of my friends is definitely has picked up recently into getting into voice acting, and he does an awesome job. And I was like, you know what? If that's all it takes, I think I could give it a shot. So yeah, we're gonna see where it goes when it comes to that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes. Let me see. Um, so when it comes to being a streamer on Twitch and potentially looking at shifting into a lot of YouTube content as well, I'm always fascinated to know what the drive was for the person that got them into making stuff in the first place. So for you, I want to know just exactly that. What got you into making content in the first place? Or in general, what made you think that you were interesting enough to make people care about you over other people in your general like niche of content creation?
I think it all started when it came to just my competitive career of playing Smash Bros. Because I always was really good at the game, and I always really wanted to just kind of like show off to other people and to my friends like how good I was at playing those games. And then I really just wanted all of just pretty much that. I just wanted my friends to know that how good I am of a player when it comes to Smash or when it comes to just playing video games in general. And I was like, anytime I play these cool games, I was like, I want to share this with an audience. I just want to have someone to share this stuff with, or these ventures, these feelings that I have when it comes to playing these video games and stuff. So mainly I started off just streaming like some indie games that I would buy off of Steam, and I don't even know if I was just doing getting into streaming right. I was just boot up the game, press go live, and then just go from there. But little did I know I had an audience. There were people that are watching me play just purely because of me. And I think that's kind of where it all, starts when you have people just wanting to watch your streams for you specifically. That's where you can kind of see that you're doing it for a reason. You have people that are looking forward to seeing you go live again, watching you play video games and stuff. And I think at that point was where I started to see that I was like, you know what, I think streaming might be a thing for me. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up. So I got into it. I reached affiliate during a time that I didn't even know. It was just I got done streaming one day. 2 days later, I got an email saying, "Hey, you made Twitch affiliate. Congratulations!" I was like, "Wow, thank you guys for this opportunity. This is crazy." I wasn't even like tracking viewership. I wasn't even like looking at my follower number. It was just like kind of a knock on the door, just handed to me like a piece of paper, just like, "Hey, yeah, you got a Twitch affiliate, by the way." So I was just happy to have the opportunity to be given that, and mainly just to have more of an adventure to show off to my friends that, hey, this guy plays video games. This guy plays video games well, and I just want folks to enjoy themselves watching me play and everything. So
That's fun.
that's
I
where it
like
all
that.
began, honestly.
I guess I'm also curious to
Yeah.
see if you think that when you first just kind of started a foray into streaming in general, just like you said, buying a random indie game, hitting go live, and just seeing what happened, do you think a lot of those people that showed up were friends of yours? Do you think they were people who had seen some level of like, something that came from you regarding like the fighting games that you were playing? Like, where do you think those people came from? Because normally when people like start
I
off
want to
streaming,
say,
it just sort of like, sorry, really quick. It just,
mm,
I'm just curious because like, especially when people just kind of start streaming, most of the time they're either streaming to nobody or they're streaming just to their friends because their friends happen to, they're like, people are bugging their friends and they're like, I stream, you should come check this out. So I don't know if like that was the situation that you were in or if you have any theories as to where the people just sort of came out of the woodwork.
I want to say a lot of them were my friends. They really wanted to see just like where I was going with it. Because back when you streamed, you would put on, I like kind of advertised everywhere on like my Facebook channel, or my Facebook page that I was going live and stuff, and it was a lot of familiar faces. The most that I got when it came to just like strangers joining me were when I did open lobbies for Smash Brothers Ultimate. That was where I definitely built like a bit of a fan base from there, because I always did like Super Smash Sundays or something like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the viewers from that point joined me from my own video game group. I was part of a video game group called Crew Round 2. That's what the CR2 stand for. That
Yep.
was what Obstacle is part of as well. But of course, that team's no longer a thing. They've been disbanded since then. But it's been a lot of just local people first, people that I knew. They would say in chat who it was. I'm like, oh snap, it's Troy. What's going on, man? And then I would go from there. Would build more of a viewership off of other people, telling their homies that like this guy plays Smash and he's pretty good at the game, and then they would come on in, and even some people that I would meet from like at Smash tournaments or whatnot would be able to find me that way. They would follow me and everything. It was always just I think it started off as friends first. And
Yeah.
then it just gradually grew into people that I just did not know later on.
Huh. Fascinating. That's, I
Yeah.
guess, I guess that, so there's a portion of that story that I'll get into in just a minute, but I guess one, it's interesting to me because granted, I'm not like a particularly big Smash player per se. Like I'll play the game if I'm out
Yeah.
places and doing something, but like I did go to a tournament one time, mostly because I had a friend who
Mhm.
was like pretty good in our state who went to one and just took us with him. I do
Yeah.
find it kind of funny that you like, especially because of my preconceived understanding of what a Smash tournament kind of looks like based around the ones that my friend has gone to and the one that I tagged along with him to go to. I just could imagine like,
Yeah.
because the Smash tournament that I went to was at like it was on like the top floor of like a small video, like a comic book shop in a sense. Um, and so I could just imagine you're going to one of these tournaments like where they have all of like they have all of the systems set up and they have all their little tiny monitors on little desks and whatnot, and you're doing all of that. And especially because within the Smash scene, depending on where you're at, it's a fairly tight knit group of people who already know each other. And so then just to have a couple of
Yeah.
those people be like, hold on, wait a minute. I feel like I recognize this person, and showing up and then being like, oh snap, I get to watch him play Smash like, all the freaking time. Like,
Yeah.
but the other portion of that was actually regarding the name change that you went through, because I either didn't know or I must have forgotten after talking with Obstacle about this briefly about the CR2 group of folks. I must have either forgotten or didn't know that they fully disbanded. Depending on how long ago that happened, was it just kind of a situation where you were like, well, if the group is disbanded, there's really no reason to have this part tagged onto the name, and so you just eventually had to bite the bullet and just change it? Or did you ever have ideas to switch over your tag to something else, like maybe prior to that, because of discoverability or because it more lines up with the type of the type of personality you want to exude out to the people out there on the internet? Like, what was your primary driving goal for that name change?
The name change was primarily due to just the group disbanding, and then I kind of wanted to just kind of branch out to be kind of like a solo, just my own thing. And I feel like the name change fits me well. It fits the personality. It's just like it's just about DP himself. It's not a part of a group or anything like that anymore. It's just a solo, just all about me type deal. For a while I kind of thought about changing my name, even if I was still a part of the group still. But I feel like just it was just a kind of a story that I just want to kind of just leave behind me. And I wanted to just move on from that. And I was like, what better way to do that than to have a name change to kind of also just reflect and represent that that's what I'm doing, and that's what I did. So I changed it to myself or something just regarding just more of me specifically, and it's a really good feeling. It's bittersweet that how things, of course, ended in all of that, but it's fine. I'm okay with how things kind of went. The memories with the group that I've had will never really go away, so I'll always forget. Just remember that, and it's been just a fun time. I'm really just I'm happy with the decision that I made, though. It's me. It fits me. I think it has a nice little ring to it, and I think it works.
Yeah, fair. No, that's entirely reasonable. Yeah, it's I imagine it would also be a little bit strange because I'll admit one of like I think the very first time that I was in your stream was because Obstacle had rated you, and I noticed that like that little part at the beginning was the same between both of the tags at the time. And it never had
Yeah.
occurred to me that like it must have been some kind of like group of people or whatever, especially given the fact that
Right. Yeah.
for like the first couple of years of my like playing games socially on like Xbox and whatnot. Like I did have
Mhm.
tags that I don't know why I did this for the record, but like I used to have tags that were like this is a part of like a gaming group, but I wasn't even a part of the group. I think I just liked the name for some reason, so I just took it from them. I
Yeah. Yeah.
appropriated their name in a weird way, but um, I imagine it would be especially like if depending on how many people who were a part of that group do content creation and maybe still have that tag on their name. I imagine it would be a little bit confusing for some people to see the same
Exactly.
sort of tag across the internet and being like, hold on, are these people related? Whereas, like you
Yeah.
mentioned,
Exactly.
you're kind of trying to step away from that confusion in a sense. And it's like,
Right.
I'm still happy for what happened while I was there. But for the record, like the group
Mhm.
disbanded. I don't have like an affiliation with them anymore in that sort of sense. Now I am just my own person. I'm that guy.
Yeah. Exactly. You get it. That's it. That's
So,
pretty much it.
all right, fair. No, that's entirely reasonable.
Yeah.
That's good. Hugh, I've told many people this. There's a lot of streamers that I follow and I really like their content and I would love to see them
Mhm.
take a dive into making content anywhere else like on top of that because I just like seeing, I like them for a reason. I want to see them in more places. YouTube is obviously the
Yeah.
biggest culprit for that where there's plenty of people I'm like, I like your streams. I like what goes on here. But there's only,
Mm.
a small window in any given day where I can actually watch them. Uh, so it's not always feasible. So I like seeing them
Yeah.
make a shift over to also doing YouTube content along with it. So
Yeah.
I know that at least for you, you have like 2 videos up right now, which I think is just like a small little highlight, or maybe even just like a VOD of playing. What the hell was it? I don't even remember. It was like some game that you were playing. But if you are looking into diving more into the YouTube content space, what exactly are you wanting to do on that platform? Is it VODs? Is it highlights? Is it like what are your plans?
Definitely some VODs, edited videos for sure. I have plans actually to stream a retro game. One of my favorite games of all time is Bomberman 64: The Second Attack, and I really want to have like just pretty much just video edits of me just playing through just a core childhood memory of mine. And I think a lot of my content will be kind of based off of just really good highlights of the video games that I've played on stream and possibly potential just some IRL skits that I did, because I've done, of course, a couple of like skits on TikTok, and
Yeah.
I think those launched off pretty good. I think those were pretty fun. So I might actually take those to YouTube as well, and just see where I can kind of go from there. I have a focus on story focused stuff for the most part still, when it comes to just my overall brand, because that's really what I I enjoy playing. Nintendo, and then just games like that, something that just draws me in. But when it comes to just other content in general, for YouTube and everything, definitely going to be some recorded VODs and videos of my playthroughs. One of my friends made YouTube partner not too long ago, but he's been at the grind for years, and he said that I inspired him to get into streaming content creation, and I'm proud of him. There's no jealousy whatsoever since here. Of course, everybody has their own growth speeds when it comes to content creation. It's, one person can definitely have 1 to 2 viewers for months. Another person, for in 1 to 2 months can have like hundreds of viewers. It's always, the algorithm is always kind of messed up in the sense where, somebody can just get lucky off of just timing off of everything. And I'm proud of them. And for me, I'm just kind of taking it slowly at a time. I really, if anything, just want to definitely put my name out there for people to kind of look forward to, as just like, I think of this guy when it comes to playing games like, Mario or Nintendo or anything along those lines. Or, you should really check out this guy's streams when it comes to just like voice acting content. So even that too. So definitely going to be like a mixture of a lot of stuff going forward. Kind of a mixed bag right now.
Yeah, you really want to be like the personality that people come to. Because I think one thing that will be like, I don't know, there's plenty of content creators who I enjoy. Like, one, based off of like the game or the niche that they're a part of. 2, based off of like the type of content that they're making, like the very hyper specific thing that they get themselves into. And 3, there are tons of people who just have a personality that just make most things that I watch from them pretty entertaining, because you can just kind of, you expect certain things from them, and then you go to a video and the payoff is there. So I think you're kind of like the perfect candidate for people to show up if they're looking for their next favorite personality, regardless of what is actually, what the actual content of the video is. But I also could imagine that a lot of people are going to show up if a lot of what you're going to be doing is also going to be like, if a big chunk of the niche that you're doing is also going back to like older games, because as I've learned, nostalgia seems to be a lot like pretty popular for people, and getting to see that with their favorite personality seems like it could be a winning combo.
Exactly. And then those were the same thoughts I was thinking of. I don't want to really honestly get big or get famous in the content creation world. I've seen from countless times viewers that I play with and game with a lot, they say that when it comes to gaming with like big name content creators, they feel ignored. They don't really feel acknowledged. And I don't want to really get famous in when it comes to that. I really want to have like a close knit community with my viewers that I, spend time with and cherish with. And I think I have the personality to make it. I just feel like I really just got to branch out my name just a little bit more. So that's why I'm just kind of at the same time working with applying for like some of these brands, like working for Avermedia or Logitech Gaming or something like that, to like just put my name out there and just see what audience that I can reach. Just want them to have a cool, safe space and chill place to just play games with, stuff like that. The real chill personality, someone that they can turn on in the background for just comfortability and things like that. So that's what I'm aiming for ultimately.
Yeah, that's a very admirable goal, because I think there are plenty of personalities on YouTube, which is great. There's plenty of personalities on Twitch, which is great. But I think we can still use more of them, because the personalities of the world are what brings more like life and humanity into the content creation space. Because there are plenty of people who you don't get much of a personality from them outside of like the character that they've built for their content. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's good to have it's good to have like those people who have a niche and who have a character also have their separate space where you can see their personality and you kind of get to see how they are as a person. But ultimately, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having many more personalities on the internet where it's like, I come to this person because he's a genuine person and I like who he is. And it's so, it makes the content really easy for people to digest. It makes it very like repeatable for people to come back to. And like you said, it's kind of like, it's something that they can just have on in the background and just appreciate the person for who they are rather than always having to focus on the content of the video and like the sort of character that they've put on. So I like hearing that a lot of the people that I talk to, I like hearing that they are trying to make it in the space as a bit of a personality rather than trying to fit a very explicit niche that I do this thing or I only play this game. So it's very good to hear that from you.
That's what I'm aiming for, man. Just someone that they could just look forward to, literally just being a favorite streamer of someone. If that's a goal that I can have and just hear that from just one person, that's enough for me, per day, honestly. So yeah, I'm good. That'll just make my week, honestly.
Yeah. Let me actually ask you one more thing about the YouTube thing, which is like, how do you intend on, like how you've obviously done some edits here and there for like TikToks and shorts and whatnot that you've done, but like how savvy are you in the actual space of like editing things down and whatnot? Because I know that especially if certain videos are going to be like a highlights of this game sort of moment, there are a lot of people who are kind of intimidated by the way that they might have to like piece together and edit things down. So I don't know how confident you are in that capacity.
I'm pretty confident. I honestly have enjoyed and loved every single edit that I've done for all of my videos that I've done for YouTube shorts. I have just a couple out there, but the algorithm doesn't like me yet, so I'm working on that. But just all of the videos that I've done through CapCut, that's my number one most recommended like video editing software ever. Period. When it comes to just editing videos, the simplicity of it all, the edits that you can do, everything that I'm using with that, I have fun with, and I have a blast just doing pretty much all of my video editing through that software. And every time I just look over what I've done, I just smile. I just always have a fun time. I feel like someone out there is gonna find it funny. If I'm laughing at my own stuff, somebody out there is gonna be laughing at it. So that's why even when it comes to if I do get big or something, I feel like I wouldn't even hire an editor of any sort. I feel like I'm gonna be handling all of that myself. I'm gonna be the one just doing the edits for my videos, because not everybody, or I don't think there's anybody out there that I can really see that has the same vision of editing certain segments of videos as I would.
Yeah.
And you are your own best artist of your creations, and I feel like that's going to be the case for me. I just like, enjoy doing it. If you enjoy doing it, you're just always going to have a fun time, and others will just enjoy just me for what I've done and all the hard work that I put in for it. So
yeah, that's good to hear. It's good to hear that people are also enjoying the editing portion of it, as silly as that sounds, because I'm kind of in the same boat. Like the things that I do, I'll admit there's moments that I go through where I'm just like, this is very frustrating to make work the way that I want it to, or I'm trying to do this thing. Why are you being so annoying? And then there's other moments where I edit something down and I'm like, I have to go back and replay it a couple of times because I just can't, like, I can't sit there and watch it with a straight face. Like it's like too silly for me to watch without like chuckling a little bit. And those are the moments that are like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep going with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd say like, since there's a lot of people that I talk to who are YouTube content creators or people aspiring to be YouTube content creators, I'm just going to throw my hat in and just say, if you ever have any questions or any like feedback you might want to get on literally anything. I've been doing YouTube for a fairly long time across a multitude of different niches and for a varying amount of consistency per arcs that I go through. So if you ever just want to spitball an idea and you maybe don't know who to go to ask about something, you can shoot something over to me and I can give you some feedback because I want to see people who have the drive that you have. I want to see them succeed. uh,
I
and
appreciate it.
giving my input, I think, will help.
Okay, awesome, man. Definitely looking forward to it. I will definitely come to you for questions because getting criticized for anything that I can do, I welcome it. So yeah, I'll take it all. Any critiques that I can get, and just to get better at it is the only thing that I'm striving for. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Good. Recently you were at MomoCon. I don't know what that is. So I want you to tell me what it is, what about it interested you, how you ended up, like why you decided to go there, and how you ended up getting a time slot for like an hour, hour and a half long stream that you did there.
Man, where do I begin? So, MomoCon is a video game slash anime convention that started way back in 2005. I never went to the one in 2005, but I went back in 2009. I think during that time, I graduated high school like 2 years after that, and I went. And when I did go, it didn't even interest me at all. Like it was just an open space in the like a college student center of a couple of vendors selling some stuff. And then you had like a video game room, but the video game room was like retro. It was just like NES games, Super Nintendo games. It was just a small little space of folks to just play games at. There were like a couple of board games in there, figurines, and it was just like, okay. So I came with a friend. We didn't even go for the most part. We just kind of walked around the city of Atlanta and just enjoyed ourselves. But fast forward to about 2013, it expanded. It ended up taking place at like a hotel in downtown Atlanta. I was like, okay, this is looking like a bigger convention than I'm familiar with that I used to go to, and the vendor space was a lot bigger. So there's a lot of kind of vendors that are there that sell their artwork, their art pieces. There would be merchants there that would sell their merchandise, whether it's shirts. Some people would actually sell like video games and stuff like that, and posters, artwork that you can buy. That's pretty much what a exhibition room is called, or dealer's hall is called. So they had that, and then they had video game tournaments for Smash Bros and other stuff. I was like, wow, this place really did just up the ante over the years. And then, of course, fast forward to like a couple of years after that, it just truly expanded into taking place at the Georgia World Congress Center, which is pretty much a gigantic trade center. And I watched it from the ground up go from being like something that had as little as 700, 500 attendees to something now has gone, I think as of this year, we had about 59,000, 60,000 folks come and enjoy themselves. It was a very fun time. But it is pretty much, yeah, just a big giant video game anime convention. One of the biggest in Georgia, to also be a part of being a host of, I think, one of Smash Brothers' biggest turnout tournaments as well. So we had Smash Bros tournaments, we had tournaments for Mario Kart, they had tournaments for Mario Party, a couple of retro games now, like of course Pokemon Puzzle League, Crash Team Racing for the PlayStation 1. They are pretty much just known for like the gaming convention, and it is always a fun time whenever you get the chance to go. My goal this year though, ever since I went to DreamHack Atlanta, I think of course there are folks that are out there that knows what DreamHack is. That's pretty much a esports competitive event that takes place over the weekend. Weekend that I've gone, I saw that they had a space dedicated to content creators. I was like, whoa, content creators like can get all of this? And it was pretty much the same setup as MomoCon, where you're given like a slide and a setup to stream at, but they also get the perks of being able to go to DreamHack for free. And then they can bring a plus one, so they can bring a friend if they decide to go for the weekend. And they have that opportunity to stream there and be showcased like on their website as, hey, a content creator at DreamHack. Ever since I saw that happen, I was like, you know what? I got to do this. So this year's goal of mine was to be, or is to be, a DreamHack content creator. And that's what I did. As soon as this year began, I started making a lot of TikToks. I started streaming consistently because a friend of mine also has the same goal. And he's been pushing himself a little bit harder because he's been trying to put himself out there in terms of wanting to apply to be on a team and stuff. But a lot of the teams kind of shot him down because they were saying, well, hey, we're looking for people that are consistent, and you got to have like a bigger follower account. And that didn't stop him, so he's still grinding for all of that. But now that I'm seeing that there are people that are out there that are looking for like bigger names and stuff like that, I kind of want to put on my little media kit resume bag that I've been to DreamHack before, and I feel like that'll be a good look. So when I do apply for like these brands that are out there, they'll say, "Hey, this guy, streamed at MomoCon. This guy streamed at DreamHack Atlanta. We ought to bring him forward."
Yeah.
And then I could be, I can reach that goal of being a part of a team, or just like a sponsor for like these affiliated brands and stuff like that. So um my ultimate goal was to stream at DreamHack, and it still is. As soon as DreamHack opens up those application doors to go ahead and apply to be a content creator for them, I am submitting that application in, and I'm pretty 100% confident I'm going to get it, especially recently landing the role of streaming at MomoCon. And that, I think, is something that is 100% achievable. If I can achieve that goal this year, I feel like I done something just awesome that I feel like a lot of content creators might want to strive for and stuff.
Yeah. He's literally taking the getting your name out there to a whole different level.
Yeah.
Streaming at a convention that houses a couple tens of thousands of people.
Definitely. And that's just the start. That is just the start, man. And MomoCon was just a fun time. It's been around. It's a Georgia based convention. It takes place in Atlanta every like Memorial Day weekend. So like that Monday prior to, or the weekend prior to that Monday is when MomoCon takes place. Highly recommend everybody just check it out. One year. It's awesome. Awesome time to go. One of my homies that I just met, on Twitch, he went for Pokemon Puzzle League. He won, said it was one of the greatest weekends of his life. He would like to go back. Freaking Beyblade took place there. That won me over. They had a Beyblade tournament scene at MomoCon. It was grown adults there, kids 30 years younger than me there, letting it rip in a Beyblade stadium, and there was a bracket. Something that I dreamed of as a kid took place there, and I was like, man, listen, this is probably one of the best years I've gone to this convention in my life. So this year is an awesome year so far.
So funny.
Stuff like this.
I was even just thinking about like the evolution of a convention like that. That's that's going on 20 years, right? Like it's. I guess I also wonder if another part of you that's more interested in it now, is it due to like your kind of what's the word that I'm thinking of, like sort of coming into being more comfortable in like the gaming and anime space, or if it's anything to do with like, because obviously we can very clearly tell that it's expanded largely, and at the very beginning it was like you probably wouldn't have a lot of people caring about it because it's like a smaller convention. But I also wonder if another portion of it is due to like the way that the general internet landscape and people and society at large has become more open and accepting to people who play video games and also consume anime, because that's obviously a very interesting phenomenon that we've seen. So I wonder if that's also what's allowed it to explode and become as big as it is.
Right. Yeah. I think I want to say due to when the thing took place years back, that allowed us to be all locked in place and everything. I think that was when anime just became just overall bigger. Like a lot of folks saw like celebrities get into it when they talked about Meg Thee Stallion being a fan of Demon Slayer and things like that. And when Demon Slayer was just a hot anime, everybody was just kind of when they didn't have anything to do, that's what they watched. They watched anime.
Yeah.
And I do remember that time period where you would get joked on a lot for being like a nerd or for watching anime back then, like in high school. We were called weird. I was definitely one of those kids that was called that was definitely called being a weird kid back then. But I didn't care about that. I just stuck to myself, been myself, when have met the friends that I've met today without it. But over time, as the years went by, I think, of course, folks are more accepting to how people are and their interests and things like that. So, of course, video games and anime come together. Those two things are right up my alley. So, that was why, and the main reason why I go to anime conventions, because, I get to experience that same feeling with other people that feel the same way and have fun at the same time. And then there's always like some kind of events that's going on at said conventions. Like I think Crunchyroll came to a couple of them. Anime Week in Atlanta is another convention that takes place in Georgia. That's what have been going to for the longest time. Then MomoCon came years after, and then MomoCon ended up being just like the better gamer one. You have of course different things that these conventions kind of cater to. I think MomoCon caters more to video games than anime, but of course anime is always there too. And then Anime Week in Atlanta is mainly all about anime, but they have a couple of video game stuff like that also.
Yeah.
But as time went on, a lot of folks that I've noticed, especially if you watch Demon Slayer, you see the Demon Slayer cosplays, you've seen the Attack on Titan cosplays. It's more and more. It just gets more popular as the years go by, and the attendance list, I think, always grows by a good like 10,000 every year when it comes to going to these events. So there's definitely an interest in that, in just that type of entertainment, and I welcome it all. Like, if it's right into the mold of myself, my friends, when we have an awesome time going there, it's always just nobody judges anyone. It's always a fun time when those events come around, and I think that's what a lot of people look forward to as like their vacation of the year.
Yeah, and I can really appreciate the fact that as the years have gone by, we as a general society have become more okay with like different forms of media being consumed by people, because obviously you have a lot of like, I don't know, the stereotypical like, my primary form of entertainment is going and watching a TV show or movies or football or a sports game or whatever, and anything else that wasn't those was kind of cast off to the side as a bit of a niche thing. And then again, as soon as you have like a handful of people actually exclaiming that, like a couple of big people exclaiming that, hey, I actually participate in this like niche thing, then the floodgates open, not only to allow the people who were initially part of that niche sort of viewing category to open up in a sense, but then you also just have tons of people who are like, wait, hold on, maybe this is a valid form of media that I can consume and like not find it weird that people are consuming it. Like it's a weird kind of meta thing, but it's just nice that the level of content and like stimuli that people can expose themselves to for entertainment has expanded a lot, so that people aren't being as judgmental about like, you play a video game, or like you play a video game as a job, you're weird. It also just just a really quick thing, kind of backpedaling to what you said about like the thing that happened a handful of years ago that forced everybody inside. I kind of forget like how influential that was in terms of opening people up to things like that, because like one of my best friends ever, like he wasn't much of a gamer in any capacity, and then the thing happened, and then all of a sudden that's like now one of the bigger things that he commits his time to, not only because at the time it was kind of the only thing he could do, but also because he's like gained a lot of new experiences via doing that, and he's met a lot of cool people through his friend group and through myself and all of this and whatnot. So yeah, I think especially nowadays, that like the fact that the effects of the thing have kind of been dampened a little bit. I think people, especially like me, kind of forget how influential that actually was to expanding people's willingness to open themselves up to different kinds of media to consume.
That year was just so wild to me because, like, I think either that same year or a year after, I stopped streaming because life kind of just like stepped in the way and kind of kicked my butt to the curb a couple of times for a hot minute.
Yeah.
But that year was just, it was a time, man, because I recently, not too long ago, I went through like my followers list and list of followers and folks that I followed on Twitch for a while. And a lot of people, there was a lot of people that streamed during that era. Like Among Us took over. There was a time frame of just like everybody, because they were stuck in the household, they wanted to pick, do something, and they decided to pick up streaming. And then it's just weird not seeing those people stream anymore. Like I'm just
Yeah.
going through these names. I'm like, man, I remember watching you. And then you would just see like last live, like February 2020 or something like that. And it's just like, wow,
It's like, dang.
that was a time. There was really just a time period in our lives where we decided to, just pick up streaming just because. And if it didn't work out in their favor, they just dropped it altogether. And it sucks because it's like on one hand, I definitely enjoyed like the homies that I met during that time frame, and I really would like to reconnect with some of them at least. But on the other hand, I feel like there was a big growth opportunity that I could have gotten had I kept streaming during that time frame. Because I stopped during that, like during the peak of that era when it was just the only thing I think a lot of people were looking into doing.
Yeah.
And but man, it's just wild that I can see that just during that era, everybody wanted to be a streamer and it was oversaturated. A whole bunch of Fortnite streams and Halo and Among Us, and it was just everywhere. I just couldn't believe it, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely could. It is especially strange knowing that it's now been over 5 years since that whole kind of thing occurred, especially because it felt like it was only, how do I explain it? It felt like it was only directly impacting a lot of people for the first like 2 years. So now, since it happened, there has been more time that has elapsed where it's felt like nothing has really happened compared to the time where it felt like it was the only thing that was happening in a sense, like where it was affecting everybody. But I mean, yeah, I remember like just the rise of all of these like stay at home activities, streaming, making YouTube videos, running podcasts. Good Lord, don't even get me started on that. and
Right.
and of course, me, like, I don't know, I was still in a position where like I still had to work. Thank God I even had a job in the first place.
Right.
But
Yeah. For sure.
I still had to work, and since I couldn't like go physically hang out with friends or anything, like all three of those things are things that I was getting into. And even if like one of them fell off, one of them went for a little while and then stopped and has now come back as just like a different version of it. And one of them is a thing that I'm now still very consistently doing. I haven't really looked back and kind of taken in all of the context around like, because like when the thing happened, because I had nothing else to do, I was like, you know what I could do? I could make like an educational video on that thing, because before that I was making semi-educational, it almost was like a PowerPoint, but you didn't have to click any of the slides. Like that was kind of what a lot of those videos felt like. I was doing them for school for like speech and debate. And then when I got out, I was like, actually, hold on, that was still kind of funny. I still liked doing that. And so I ended up making a video on the thing. And much like you with your streaming, I was like advertising this video that I had made to a bunch of people on my Facebook friends list and like Instagram followers and whatnot. Just being like, hey, I made this video on all of the information that we currently know about the thing condensed into one little space, if you could share it around with other people. And prior to making that video, I had already been making videos, like I mentioned, for school, but also like a couple years prior to that, I had been just making like little gameplay commentary type things when I was way too young to be doing any of that. But like none of those videos ever got any traction, obviously, because I didn't know anything about making a thumbnail or making a good video or advertising in any capacity. And so then to have a video that I had to put full effort into editing, full effort into like doing a voiceover, full effort into making like a thumbnail, and then full effort into going and advertising it, that video for the time was still pretty impressive for me, getting like 100 views compared to like 12 or something. And then goodness, excuse me, my voice is giving out. And then I ended up like kind of continuing on that sort of like PowerPoint that you don't have to click the slide for sort of video on a bunch of other random things, like absolutely having nothing to do with the thing and more just having to do with like random topics that my friends gave to me that they would be interested to see me making a video on. Made those, then stopped for a little bit because I didn't know what else to make. Then got into talking about like social justice issues with like basically back to a gameplay commentary in a sense, but talking about freaking social justice issues. Then stopped doing that for a little bit. Then came back, made a nostalgic video about games that I used to play, which spiked even harder, like at 2K views at the time, which was insane. And now all of a sudden, like, YouTube actually makes up like a good chunk of the income that I make within a month. So I'm like, were it not for COVID giving me an excuse, I said the word. I'm gonna get demonetized now. What am I gonna do? Sorry.
Oh no, you didn't.
If it wasn't for that giving me the opportunity and kind of forcing me, or giving me the opportunity to like make videos on in general, like I wouldn't be even in remotely the same position that I'm in right now. I probably wouldn't have found a lot of streamers that I like, and to be frank, you and I wouldn't be sitting here in this call right now.
That thing really just mesh things up to bring folks together in the long run of things. So I'm grateful for that took place, honestly.
Yeah. It's done a lot for the content creator, and also I don't mean this in like an aggressive way, but I think it also did kind of weed out a lot of the people who like used it as an excuse to see if they liked content creation and ultimately decided they didn't like it. Like it gave people an excuse to try something, they realized they don't like it, and now they're probably on to doing things that they enjoy more. So I'm kind of glad to see that it at least filtered out some of that for some people.
Right, exactly. Definitely.
But yeah, switching gears a little bit here. This is completely coming out of nowhere, but just especially because I know that like a lot of the games that you play are like they're Nintendo centric and they're nostalgia centric and they're very retro in a sense. I imagine that you have a very close connection with a lot of games from when you were younger. I think that's a safe assumption to make. So I'm just looking for like a small list of like 3 or 5 games from you that you think have kind of like changed your life in some capacity, or especially talking about like modern games that you've maybe dabbled in have like kind of changed your outlook on games.
Man, that would be a good question. Um, I think the number one game that I can, of course, just off the top of my head, just think of that just really got me into video games, period, was definitely the original Super Mario Brothers for the Nintendo, for the NES. I remember there were times that my sister, she would like wake me up out of bed and be like, Derek, wake up, there's a surprise for you. And then I would wake up and would like go downstairs and I would see that she made it to, I think, whatever the snow world level is in the original Mario Brothers. I don't know if it was like World 5 or World 6. And I think that was like the furthest that she made it in the Mario games. And ever since I just sat there and just watched my dad and my mom, well, my sister, play like Super Mario or Little Nemo, basically. That was kind of what opened up my eyes to just wanting to get into video games. I'm a Nintendo man, fanboy at heart. Obviously because it was the first thing in front of my eyes as I grew up, and when I was a little kid, we owned a Sega Genesis when as time grew up, and my mom noticed my love for video games, and she always kind of supported my love for video games as well. Like every time a new console came out, my mom would get that console. When the PlayStation came out, she told my dad to go to the store and get that PlayStation. When the Nintendo 64 came out, same thing. She got up and got the Nintendo 64 for me. I was always getting like the newest stuff, so I'm always forever grateful for my parents for just kind of never, I guess, giving up on me or being the type of parents that are like, video games are pure evil, dear. You shouldn't even pick those things up at all, or something along those lines. They always were just kind of behind me, wanting me to get into it. So, Nintendo and Mario games, period, I think it was just the start of something great, to get me into just the swing of things. I would have to sit here and think of like other titles that kind of just really I guess, what would be the word for it? Like, changed or molded me into like what my thoughts are and just of like games nowadays. I'll have to like just really sit down and think. But man, what would be yours? What would you say would be like three games that you would have that
Hmm.
so I can try and piggyback off of you?
Yeah, this will give you some time to think while I continue to gap
Yeah.
about games.
Yeah, that works.
I mean, there was like, again, as I kind of briefly mentioned, there was an entire video that I made. It was like 45 minutes long, just talking about random miscellaneous like points in my life, like random little arcs of me being a wee lad. And there's a lot of games in that list. I
Yeah.
I I had a lot of influence by Mario games as well in general. Not quite. I did actually. I played a lot of Mario 3 specifically, and I think the only reason that was the case is because my friend had a bandmate who I would go and visit relatively like frequently with him when they would go practice, and his kids were a little older than I was, and so they also had an NES, and Mario 3 specifically was one of those games that like I remember having a strong affinity for. But um even though this is a little bit later, like the Mario Galaxy games also I think like changed my brain chemistry in a way, in a sense. um but yeah, I don't think there's ever really been like a Mario game that that like I've played that hasn't like been in like insanely enjoyable for me. Like all of them have been really, really, they've treated me very well. But I think I'm gonna have to go with like Sonic games first over them.
Sure, yeah.
Um, because I like Sonic 2 was one of my formative video games to play, period. Like it was just one of the first ones that I had played and one of the ones that I really grew like a strong attachment to. Um, so I'd probably have to give it to that.
Okay.
Um, I'm trying to look through this list of ones that I have as well, because there was an arc that I went through where there were games that I didn't technically play, but I did sort of participate in playing them with other people, namely like my brother and my and like my older relatives and whatnot. Um, I'm thinking this is very strange. Like watching my brother play The Sims was like
Sims.
or oh no, you know what it was? Actually, no. There was a SmackDown versus Raw WWE game that he had me occasionally play with him on like the PS2, I think. And that was like one of the sort of formative bonding experiences that I had with him in terms of actually like fully playing a game with him.
Yeah.
Um, but then I think honestly a lot of games that have like fundamentally changed me in some way, they are games that are around like the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo Wii era. So I'm thinking
Nintendo,
like,
yes, sir.
yeah, I get, yeah, it always comes back to Nintendo. So I'm thinking games like Super Mario 64 and the DS version, Mario Galaxy, as I mentioned before, Kirby Superstar Ultra for the Nintendo DS for some reason. Like that's one of those games that I've gone back and purchased twice now, I think, and I still have it with me.
Yeah, yeah, man. Kirby, yeah.
And then oh no. Yeah, it's definitely mostly games from the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo Wii. And that's probably just
Yeah.
because they're more recent in memory for me to remember compared to games that I played when I was like in the single digits of age.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I'm thinking of like Kirby, Mario Galaxy, like Mario Party, Mario Kart,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I'd probably say like even though I mentioned earlier that I'm not like a particularly heavy Smash Brothers player in any sense.
Mm.
Back
Mm.
when Super Smash Brothers Brawl came out, I was jamming that game to an almost unhealthy degree.
Yeah. That is definitely, I want to say, the Smash title that got like a lot of players into, of course, just playing the game because of the story mode. And then of course enjoying the cast of characters that expanded from Melee to Brawl. And then of course, like when I think the tournament scene picked up, of course, tournament scene wise, it definitely was like lacking in terms of like flashiness, kind of like Melee and Ultimate and stuff like that. But I think that is the was a breakout game for like a lot of players. Was when Brawl came out. I did not play competitively during Smash Brothers. I guess that's one game, so I'll get to that on my turn. But I think I want to say, yeah, just Super Smash Bros. Brawl was the game that I feel like had I played during its competitive era, I would have seen why everybody was really into, I guess, playing those games over the previous iteration of Smash, which is what I played competitively a lot. Um, the breakout point was a Brawl, though. Brawl was definitely like the wake up call of like a lot of people I truly saw that had like a newfound appreciation for just that game specifically, and just Nintendo for doing what they did when they brought those characters together in that story mode light and stuff.
Yeah, and I will say to Smash Brothers Brawl's credit, it also probably is like the perfect storm. Smash games have been beloved since they came out, it seems like. And it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like it was the perfect storm for that to have come out at the same time as like the most popular selling console of like all time came out with it, you
Yeah.
know? So I got to give him that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think
Hmm.
that might be my
Well,
list. There's a couple of like modern ones that I'd say, but those have like changed me for like I think substantially different reasons that are more related to like music and more
mhm.
uh like because they're happening right now, they feel like they've directly impacted me more, but I'd probably
Mhm.
say yeah, the just a handful of the games that I had previously mentioned.
Gotcha. So, I would, yeah, Super Smash Brothers Melee is definitely a game I would hold in high regard. Um, I played that game just religiously, like day in and day out, all the time. Like back when I first got it, on Christmas Day, back when like the GameCube came out, 2001, I think is when it came out and stuff. And I always played against like level 9 computers. I remember the settings like it was yesterday. It was like level 9 computers, coin battle, 10 stock, and I would have like I would always choose Mario. Mario was my main, and it would be like I would fight against Kirby, Pikachu, and Ness, and I would just have just constant battles all throughout the night of just playing against those computers and playing that game all the time. And I met one of the founder of Crew Round Two, the guy that decided to make the team. I met him in high school, my sophomore year, and he was a fan of it also. And so there was a time where it was like, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and get together and play this game together and see who's the best Smash player. He played Fox, I played Mario. I think we did like 10 stock on Final Destination or something, and I think I ended up winning. But it was pretty still close and stuff. But ever since then, we decided to play the game all the time, a lot. And something in me compelled me to be like, you know what? I wonder if there's like tournaments for this game. So I went and looked it up on YouTube, and the very first thing I saw on YouTube was like a Mario combo video. And I watched that video and I was amazed. I was like, no way, Mario can move like this? There's no way. And then I looked into it, and then the more you look into it, the more you just down the rabbit hole of what else you can find out. So you find out about wave dashing, you find out about L canceling, you find out about all like this new tech that I had never in my life heard about before. And then I told my friend AJ, I was like, AJ, we gotta get into this. We gotta get into some competitive Smash Bros. And it was that point. I even got to the point where like I was looking up stuff about it in school. I was in high school just looking like during computer class, we would use PhotoBucket a lot for some stuff. I think PhotoBucket was like a safe website to visit that wasn't blocked off from like the school's
Oh yeah.
thing for some reason. But PhotoBucket results of like Super Smash Brothers tournament posters was up. And I was like, man, so they actually host tournaments for this game? No way. And that's when I found out about Smashboards. And then Smashboards is like an online forum specifically for Smash, and Oh man, it just brings back so many memories. I have so much good, just fond memories of playing Melee. So definitely Melee was a game that just had me hook, line, and sinker, and got me into the competitive career that I am in now. Um, the next game I would say is Bomberman 64: The Second Attack, the game that I have plans to play tomorrow. There is a time where I was like when I was younger, every Friday my parents would choose to rent, like they would choose to either rent a movie, like a scary movie or something that would just come out that week, or I could go to the skating center and I would like skate at the local skating center or whatever for like for the night or something. And here and there they would always choose like Blockbuster, and we would go there, or Hollywood Video was one. It was one of those, kind of usually both. But I always saw Bomberman 64, The Second Attack there, but it was never available. Somebody was always renting that game. But one time I finally got a hold of it myself. And it was during a time where they were watching some scary movie. I don't know what scary movie it was, but it was something way too scary for me. But I had that game rented and I played it all throughout the night. Just being in the multiplayer mode, playing against computers, it was just a very fun time, and it inspired me to draw like comics. Like I actually drew comics back in the day of like Bomberman and Kirby together going on adventures and stuff. And that, I know, as silly as that sounds, it was really cool, just thing that I did like in school to pass the time. So I did a lot of like drawing here and there because my old childhood best friend, now roommate Billy, he was the main one that got me into drawing and doing comics and stuff like that. But yeah, that Bomberman game is really just is it just makes my childhood memorable, and it's definitely like one of the best favorite games of all time. Um, and then another title I can think of that just really made the the happening that took place years back. It just made my year was Knockout City.
Oh yeah.
Knockout City was the 3v3 dodgeball game that I can arguably say is my number one favorite game of all time for sure. Like over Bomberman, over Super Smash Bros. Melee. Knockout City was the game. There was no other game out there like it. And in a saturated market full of like battle royales and FPS games and stuff like that, there wasn't anything that you can play that had you, throw a dodgeball across and hit somebody's face like the way that game did. And I was able to do that. That was my comfort game that I can just boot up on any day that I feel like streaming, but just didn't know what stream or like what game to stream that day. I'll be like, you know what? I'll boot up Knockout City. That game, oh man, the memories I had when it first came out, I did like a 12-hour stream marathon, and I legit played it for 12 hours straight, not one time getting up. I mean, I got breakfast, I ate, I had to live. So, obviously I had to drink water and all of that stuff.
But other than that,
other than that nothing brought me joy that the way that game did that day, because I just played that game straight for 12 hours and it was just a fun time. And it was sad to see that game shut down. But I mean, it seems like that's where we're at right now in this day and age when it comes to these video games and multiplayer stuff, that if it's not a FPS, if it's not like Fortnite, it's dead.
Yeah.
Like it's getting to that point now, and I hate to even say that.
if the game isn't constantly dragging in a ton of revenue, even for the people who already bought the game after it, they're like, I think it's best if we kill this game. It's like, oh, come on. You made a cool creative concept, a cool creative take on like a pseudo sport, and you ruined it. You killed it.
Exactly. That's literally what happened. But if I don't think I have 5 games, but those 3 games right there are the number one I can think of off the top of my head that are just memorable. I have an awesome fun time with, and I couldn't be more grateful that I've had the opportunity to play those games. At the time that I did, it just really hit home every time I played those, and yeah.
Yeah, and it encompasses a lot of different eras of your life, because some people may look at, because I think like you're going back to Bomberman 64, the second attack, and it's like this right here is going to prove whether or not the game stands on its own or if it's just like nostalgia getting to somebody. Um, and so it's like good to see that rather than diverting to nostalgia exclusively, you're like, well, no, here are these games that I played here. They made an impact on me at the time, but also like some of them still hold up today. And then there's a couple that are like, well, I played this game within the last handful of years. And so to have that stand the test, or not really stand the test of time, but to have that have as big of an impact as nostalgia sometimes conflates other games is like good proof of how good a game can actually be, or at least how enjoyable it can be for the people playing it. So
To this day, a lot of people just still hold Ocarina of Time in high regard. Link to the Past on the SNES is one of the best Zelda games, and I mean those games were good, and I mean just they still hold up well to this day. So I mean, like a lot of folks have had the best times and memories in gaming with the games that came out, in the past and before. That's why I feel like a lot of these remakes and remasters and re-releases that Nintendo has done, although a lot of folks hate it, a lot of fans definitely love it. Like they're glad to be able to play these games again.
yeah,
They were they came out during a time period where the peak of video games were fun. And you don't get that in video games nowadays. It's rare. Expedition 33 is probably like the one game that is really hitting hard for a lot of us right now, because it's just hitting all of the marks that I think RPG lovers and fans all around were just looking for, and it's doing just that. And it's fun. It is just a really fun game. And
it's just fun.
it's rare
Simple as
to
that.
list that. Yeah. Exactly. That's rare to find these days, man. That, Warhammer Space Marine 2, another fun game. Like that's all we want nowadays. It's kind of hard to get that.
Yeah. Expedition 33 is one of those things that I eventually have intentions to get into. But like I mentioned to you a couple of days ago when I pulled up to the stream, I have way too many long ass games I have to beat. I still have to beat Hollow Knight.
Right.
I still have to beat Persona 3, Persona 5, and Metaphor ReFantazio. And only then can I maybe touch that game. So
Right.
by the time I get to that game, they're gonna be like, we're not paying attention. It's gonna be like 700 hours and a year and a half later when I finally get to that game. And people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But you can take your time with those, because I know they're gonna take those. Definitely have a long gameplay hours when it comes to playing that. So you're gonna have a fun time, but when you get to it, you will be it'll hit all the same as if it just came out.
Yeah, that's
It's
good.
really great.
Yeah, I like games that are just like, I mean, most games that I play, like they don't root themselves in like any amount of like temporal isolation, I guess. Like I'm not like, oh, I can tell that this came out around this time, or I can tell that this was a particularly interesting or important thing when this happened, like anything like that. So I don't doubt that by the time I get to that game, one, I'll have forgotten anything that I've seen from other streamers who have played it, and I can experience it like new, like I hadn't seen anything. But then it'll just be like, wow, I forgot how cool this game is, and I forgot how like it's I'm not a big RPG person, but this game is insanely good. So I'm excited to eventually have that happen, although it's gonna take a while.
Yeah, you can hit me up in like 2 more years. I'll
Yeah.
No, I know it'll probably be about that long.
And then I guess I just have one like really small offshoot question regarding like the favorite games thing. I don't know if this is a thing you pay attention to into your games. I know I do, because this is just like one of the hyperfixations that I have. Is there a game that has like a soundtrack that really hooks you? Like either every time you play it, you're like, oh, yep, just like I remember it. Or even is there a game that has a soundtrack that you're like, I'm comfortable listening to this like outside of the game context because I just enjoy it that much?
The East series, it's just spelled with a Y and S and pronounced ease. They have really good just what is it? Just hype rock tracks. And I usually, when it comes to like playing competitive Smash, I listen to just like hype music and stuff like that, and those games really hit the nail on the head. And I want to say those tracks are what I kind of listen to when it comes to just having something in the background noise for if I'm grinding like in an MMO thing. Just needing something high to listen to. The E series games are really, really good. I can definitely like send you some tracks that I love listening to, for sure. Risk of Rain is another one because I know you were big on that. I know you made that video about the Risk of Rain
Yep.
soundtrack, but man, bro, Risk of Rain is, yeah, that one's good too. Yeah, but in recent years, I would have to say the E series, even Stellar Blade, and especially Expedition 33, all have soundtracks that are just great, man. I really can't wait for you to dive into that game. You'll probably make another video about that as well.
Oh god, dude! If I making a video on an RPG and making a video on the music for that game sounds like such a nightmare, only because
It's gonna happen. You're gonna do it.
yeah,
It's so
I fear
good.
it. I fear it is going to happen. Like, I don't think it's gonna happen with
Yeah,
any of the other three like JRPG games I need to beat first. But like, I'm gonna get to that game and I'm gonna be
yeah,
like, I'm gonna be like the game's gonna open up and I'm gonna be like, oh no, I can already feel myself writing.
right. Yeah.
But that's
I
good. That's
mean,
more
on
content.
the title screen, yeah,
Literally.
you're gonna feel it. Mhm.
That's a good list though. I like that. Yeah, definitely send me any tracks because I that's another thing I like is I like kind of even if I don't when people send me soundtracks from games that I especially ones that I don't play, I always find fascination in being like, oh, what is this? What does this tie
Yeah,
into? Like what kind of genre would this be classified as? What are they? What's the context behind it? Whatever. I find that fascinating. So yeah, that's another thing. If you ever if
cool.
you're ever like if you ever want like a music nerd's opinion on something, like
Yeah.
you can also send something to me because I'm like so down to listen to any of that and be like, this is so cool. This is like this sounds like this thing.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I'll definitely do that for sure. What kind of music is it that you're like that piques your interest? Like, what is it about a track or music in a game that really has you just mesmerized to talk about it a lot? Like, what is it specifically?
There's a handful of things. I think well, there's a handful of things because there's a bunch of different games whose genres of music I like listening to and whose genres I've actively analyzed and made videos about. There's something about like you said, there's something about like the hype nature of songs that when paired with
Mhm.
context in the game, I'm like there's almost nothing that can match this level of intensity. And even if I don't
Yeah.
feel that same intensity when I listen to it separately, like I still feel a lot of it because music is one of those things that people feel very viscerally, is a way that I've put it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's just like something that elicits like a strong response from me, whether that's like the you know that gif of Jay-Z just like stank facing and just like bobbing his head.
That, yeah.
Yeah, like there's games that'll elicit that kind of a response, and then there's other music that I listen to that I'm like, this has so much power and like emotion put into it, and I don't even know why. Like, there's some music in the Risk of Rain soundtrack. There's like one song in particular from the Risk of Rain soundtrack that I'm like, there is a ridiculous amount of emotion put into this song, and all it's doing is just playing when you're on some random stage. And some people have like tied the emotion of the music to like the inhabitants of the stage or whatever. To me, I never looked at it from that angle. I just kind of I don't know, there was just something about the character of it that sounded that way. And then I found out more information about the song itself, like about the history of the composition behind it, and I just grew like a whole different level of attachment to it. Um but there's also plenty of music that it's just impressive on a technical detail. Because there's a lot of music I can analyze based around the context of it in the game. There's music I can analyze based around what I think it sounds like or what kind of emotion it elicits by its own merit. But being a producer myself, there's also a lot of technical stuff that I can understand about music. And so if there's music that is very technically impressive or technically interesting, that's also something that I always want to try and dive into. Especially if I think the music is, basically if it excels in like 5 or 6 different things, not all at the same time, but if it happens to excel in like a few of those things, it's usually interesting enough for me to talk about. So it's like the emotion, the technical aspects, the context, and just how hype it can be sometimes. If it excels at like any of those things, that's usually enough for me to enjoy and respect it enough to want to talk about it and to be able to, well, I guess to be able to analyze it and then to be able to talk about it with other people, because video games are a very popular medium and people have very strong attachments to their music, and I want to try and empower them to feel closer to it as in any way possible, I guess. Is
Gotcha. Okay. I see.
But yeah, definitely if you have anything, I'd love to just like, if you're like, this song has made my has made my adult years, or whatever, I'm like, hold on. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why this might be the case.
Vocals or like vocals welcome or
Yeah,
non-vocal music or okay, cool.
I'll literally
Yeah,
take anything.
definitely.
Like I'll give
Yeah.
anything a shot to talk about it, especially if it's like somebody is passionate about the song. Like I'm like, oh yeah, send it to me. I want to talk about this with you.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I'll take anything.
Okay. Awesome.
But
They're definitely going to send you some tracks not long after this is over with for sure. I
good.
got them lined up for you.
All right, let me see. You have Traveler in your bio. I don't know where. So one of your bios says Traveler in it. Where are you traveling to? What are you traveling for? And like, what is the best place in your opinion that you have traveled to?
Man, Traveler comes from just me not being able to sit still. I'm always looking for, so I'm always wanting to go somewhere doing something. And if I can list like a number of places of where I've been to, I think it all started mainly from like when I was little. We lived in Washington State. Um, for years, and then we moved to Georgia in 1999. And I want to say that we drove in like a 1990 something Toyota sedan all the way from Washington State to Georgia, and it was a 3.5 day trip.
Good God.
And we moved here to from because my dad retired. Of course, my parents wanted to be close to family in Florida. And I think we moved here because, of course, for that reason. And then we had to find a house. And then we ended up getting the house, but we ended up like staying somewhere on post, like on Fort Benning somewhere. But we had to drive back all the way to Washington State to go ahead and pack up and get some stuff ready and finalize like closing up out there. And then we finally drove back a third time back to Georgia. It was probably like the longest week and a half that I have ever done in my life, but I feel like it's just a small fuzzy memory because I don't feel like we've done it 3 times. But my dad told me like, yeah, Derek, we traveled from Washington State to Georgia, here and forth and back over again. I'm like, man, that's wild. And when we were on those trips, I saw different parts of Washington that I feel like I would have loved to have traveled to, but I was a little kid at the time. But it was just like something to just look back to when I get older. Like I've seen these waterfalls and just these roadways that go under waterfalls or like next to them, like just high up in the mountains and stuff like that. I'm like, man, all of this was out here in Washington. I want to do. And so ever since then, like as I grew up, I just wanted to just get out there and have an adventure, man. So it started small, going to conventions and stuff like here around town. And then eventually it wrapped up to going to conventions like MomoCon and Anime Week in Atlanta. And then the more I went to those over the, you know what? I kind of want to try out something else. I want to strive for more because I know there's a lot more conventions out there than just these two. And so eventually I ended up checking out Anime Expo. Anime Expo is the biggest anime convention I think the States has to offer. It takes place in Los Angeles, California. I went there for I think my 29th birthday. And there are a lot of vendors that are out there that are just giving stuff away for free. I think their dealer's room that sell like items and stuff like that to you is probably like 3 to 4 Best Buys big,
Oh my
and the
god.
aisles long. Yeah, it's pretty damn big, and it's just like you're able to just explore and go to all kinds of panels, and some of the artists that work on your favorite anime, like I think the artists of Fooly Cooly and My Hero Academia made it out there. But I got a sneak peek of the very first My Hero Academia there before it ever showcased at all, for the world to see. That was there. You get like all kinds of and stuff like that. I went there. I've gone to Level Up Expo in Las Vegas, and I have plans to go to Switzerland and Japan next year.
Oh.
Switzerland primarily because I've seen pictures and videos of just the landscapes out there, what you're able to just do and walk to, and the mountains, the trails, the random like water springs that you see in town that you can just fill up your water jug with and just go. And I feel like that's just like the ultimate Zelda Breath of the Wild location where you could just put it on the back, a book bag and just go. Switzerland is that. And then of course, Japan for obvious reasons, because I'm a big fan of anime, and not to say that of course I want to just go for, that reason alone. I love their food. Ramen is freaking delicious. Just always wanted to see what Japan culture is all about. So going there with some friends next year plan. I just can't sit still. I always have the sense of adventure. It's in my middle name. But definitely, if I can recommend, or like the best place I've gone to, I want to say so far, I think a favorite of myself and my homies that we've been to definitely has been Level Up Expo. Level Up Expo is basically MomoCon of Vegas. So it's also like a big old giant like video game vendor hall, and then in the very back is where they have all tournaments and stuff like that taking place. But when the con is over with, you have Vegas to explore. So that's the best part. Like, you get to walk down the streets of Vegas and just check out all the scenery of what it has to offer. They really truly say that city never sleeps. Definitely believe it. As soon as you like land in the airport, you have like a slot machine just waiting to great you as soon as you get off the plane. So
right
that
next
place
to the flight attendant.
Yeah, literally right next to the flight attendant. Not care about. They don't play. They do not play about their slots and stuff like that. So it's always a fun time. Of course, please gamble responsibly if you decide to ever do that.
That's our obligatory warning.
Yeah, definitely. But I would just, if anything, that is just like the number one thing I would just look forward to is if you feel like you're just tired of like the same old place, just look into seeing what you want to do that's out there that may interest you. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm really have my mind set on just wanting to travel the world eventually. And I'm doing a small start next year. Probably not reach the whole world, but it's something. It's out of the states. It's out of the country. So
yeah,
that's what I've really been looking forward to lately.
Yeah, that's a really good start. Yeah, there's a lot of like, a lot of this talk has been about conventions and whatnot, and even on just like a small level, like at some point I'd like to be able to explore like other conventions that are out of the state that I'm in. Even though I will admit the one convention we have when it comes around is insane. Like I want to say that in one day they have like 100,000 people on the floor, or like coming in and out of the building. So
what's it called?
FanX. Sounds like an inappropriate website. Don't Google it, or if you do, be careful.
FanX, like Fan Expo, or
I think that's what it stands for. Yeah, but it's just like the letter X in this case. It's basically our version of Comic-Con, because I think we used to have Comic-Con and then they like copyrighted it and now we don't legally have access to it anymore. Or so I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm looking at it now. September 25th this year.
Yep. I mean, yeah, it's
Salt
just
Lake Comic and Pop Culture.
It's just like a souped up version of everything you've been mentioning, probably minus like the competitive tournaments going on.
Oh man, okay. Well, it's still worth looking into and going. Like something like this, I would definitely like try and make it out to and stuff. This is cool.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, they have like just like a gigantic vendor floor. They have tons of like street vendor food people outside of the convention. They've got a ton of like boardrooms for holding what the hell do they call them? Panels. They have a bunch of panels that they do. They have like a whole like on the same floor as the vendor floor, but just in a different part of the building. They have the whole like celebrity section for photo ops and photographs and all that kind of stuff. It's huge. And it's
Yeah,
always
yeah, definitely.
the one like slightly inconvenient thing about it is like if you don't show up at like an opportune time, you're just gonna get blasted by the sun.
Yeah.
But if you can ignore
Sounds
that,
about right.
like the rest of the inside space is it's incredible. And I think people who are in the
Yeah.
local area around that time should at least show up for like a day and just see what's going on because there's like just enough in there's like just enough in the place that you can like maybe get to explore about everything over the course of the 3 days that it's going.
Oh man, yeah, this looks pretty interesting for sure. Might have to look into that.
Yeah, if you happen to be in the area, like me and my partner and some of our friends are usually there every year for all 3 days. So if you happen to be in the area and you happen to like we'd be in the area around that time and you're going, like you
I'll
shoot
definitely
me
shoot you a
yeah,
message.
shoot me a message or I'll just be walking around and I'll hear like this deep rumbling voice from across one of the like on the other side of one of the vendors and I'm like, hold on. Is that who I think it is? It'd
That sounds like probably the best start of meeting someone I
be so funny.
already. Yeah.
But so I
Yeah.
guess so we've established that like you can't sit still, and I respect the hell out of that. Honestly, like that is
Yeah.
people who are financially able to go and travel places and just explore new things are probably living a pretty good life. Like I think that's a safe assumption to make.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've established that like traveling is like a fairly big part of like what you're doing in like certain parts of the year and certain stretches of the year. But other than that, I guess my final question to you is just what other things do you like doing in your free time, and does it involve anything to do with more comic book drawing? Because I want to say you drew like the Bomberman avatar that you have for stream, if I'm not mistaken.
I edited it. It's mainly from the Bomberman R series that
Hmm.
came out
Okay.
on I think both Steam on Switch, but I did color it and make edits to it to make it seem more of like, of course, just kind of my personal aesthetic,
Yeah.
my little PNG tuber and whatnot. So, um, but if it's any hobbies that I love doing outside of that, definitely playing Beyblade. I can say that, right? Blade is definitely one cool hobby that I like to do. Definitely like bowling. I'm not really a sports person. I, of course, when I moved here to Georgia, I grew up playing a lot of like, of course, neighborhood sports like basketball and football and stuff growing up, but only because like my parents kind of wanted me to not play video games all the time. So I mainly just straight up went outside because they wanted me to get active and stuff, and I understood. But
Yeah.
I sucked at basketball. I was decent in football. I every time I got the basketball, I was trapped or double dribbling. I was doing something wrong every time. So I never got a grasp at some basketball. But I did play the hell out of some ping pong. Ping pong is a favorite sport of mine. I really like playing that game a lot. I don't play it competitively, how they knock it back and forth fast and stuff like they do on TV that you probably saw in like
Yeah.
one of those random sports shows that they're doing for the day. So I do that fast or but I'm left-handed in that sport too, which I find kind of weird. 'Cause I'm a right-handed guy, but I'm left-handed in ping pong.
What in the what?
Um,
I was about to be like, oh, are you
yeah.
left-handed? Same. No, you're ping pong left-handed specifically.
Yeah, I serve the ball with my right hand and everything, and then I put the paddle immediately in my left hand. I'm just able to play that way. I cannot play with my right hand for some reason. I don't know
Interesting.
why. Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, yeah. What about you when it comes to like hobbies and stuff like that?
A lot of it is like it's a lot of the stuff that I kind of mentioned up at the top. Like I like producing music in my pastime is kind of like one of my like yeah, it's a fun thing for me.
Yeah.
But I've recently been getting into I've for the longest time I hadn't been like a sports person either. Like I played a little bit of soccer when I was younger. Um, would do okay in like the sports that I would play for like gym in high school and whatnot. But other than that, I wasn't a particularly big sports person. And I don't know if it's just because of like enough exposure happened, but like I went to two basketball games over the course of like 2 months or something because my partner's family just had random tickets that they couldn't use, so we just had them for free. But like after watching that, I was like, oh wow, I think I actually enjoy watching basketball, and I was watching a little bit of baseball at my friend's house the other day, like last week, and I was like, hold on, this might actually be interesting. I think I have a friend who's going to a baseball game soon, so I'm gonna probably go pay a visit to him to go do that. So I've been getting into that a little bit more. Um,
Okay.
what else? God, I'm like looking around. I think I've I also this isn't like a consistent hobby that I do, but I do find joy in it whenever I'm doing it. Like I've been into like building Legos a little bit more now, which is very strange.
Every time I've gone into those stores, those prices are out of this world. I was like, I did not know y'all Legos can get expensive like this. This is it,
Yeah.
really now.
It's literally it's like this is so good. This is gonna sound so stupid. It's like the antithesis to like the IKEA thing, where IKEA furniture
Yeah.
is so damn cheap comparatively speaking because you're building the whole thing yourself, so that's less man hours that you're paying for. Like we bought
Right.
a
Yeah.
bookshelf. We bought a bookshelf that stands like 7 feet tall, and that cost us $25 and maybe like an hour to build, which is insane.
Ooh.
So,
Yeah.
but I'm in the same boat with you with Legos where I'm like I'm having to build the whole thing. Why are you doing this to me? Why am I paying
Right.
so much?
Exactly. I think I've seen like one of those I think just being able to build they have some cool collections out there from what I've seen. You can build like one of those Japanese like shrines and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
they're so cool.
Or like a blossom tree or something like that. And it just I look at the price and it's the price of a Nintendo Switch 2 and I'm just like, well dang, do I really want to try to build a Lego decoration or play something for hours and hours at a time that I think I'll benefit from? But
Yeah.
it's tough choices to be made out here, man. It's
Yeah.
wild.
But yeah, then there's like a few small things that I also don't consistently dabble in, but I like to try them every once in a while when I have the
Yeah.
time. I bought a camera a couple months ago, so I just carry it around with me and I try and like just snap things where I can. I've been trying to get into art a little bit. It hasn't really gone
Yeah.
anywhere, I'll say, but it's fun to at least try and give it a shot. um, and what else? No, I think that's mostly it. If I'm honest, a lot of my free time is spent like this is gonna sound dumb. A lot of my free time is like spent playing games one time through
Yeah.
for the purpose of enjoyment to then have to go back and play it again for the sake of content and then
Yeah. Yeah.
producing music, which some of that music also then ends up on videos that I make. So it's almost like work in another sense, but like not really.
Mm. Definitely.
um, so yeah, just a couple of those things.
Gotcha. Nice, nice.
But
Cool stuff.
let me see. Yeah, that's wow. The list looked smaller when I made it, but it looks like it still got us all the time that we wanted. So, really, I want to thank you for coming on because again, it's we don't because of like differences in scheduling and the fact that like you were kind of busy doing other things for a little while. It's like I like showing up to your streams, but I don't do it super frequently because I don't know why. So it's good to be able to actually like talk to you and get some of this like off of my chest that I otherwise would just be sending over the course of a handful of messages in a chat or something. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
uh, God, I mean, yeah, my actual last question that I ask everybody is like, do you have any questions for me before we end this episode off?
Uh, I think for the most part, man, yeah, you kind of told your story here and there a good bit from like any kind of questions that I did ask or wonder about. Um, man, if it was anything that I were to ask, uh, I guess would be what tips would you give someone that now that you wish you knew when you first started getting content creation?
Oh boy. I I do kind of mostly still stand by the idea that you either need to establish a niche early on and find a unique way to bring it to the people, or you need to establish yourself as a variety person that people come to for like a personality, as we kind of discussed earlier. Just as a small little piece of anecdote, I think I'm in an incredibly privileged position to have, I think, been the first person to take in and start working in the niche that I'm in. Because there's tons of music people on YouTube. There's tons of producers. There's tons of people showing you how to make music like your favorite video game. There's tons of actual like talented people in the music space, from opera singers to violin players, analyzing pieces from, like music from video games, all of that. It's all really good, and they're all doing really good. But I think I'm the first person to do like full video game soundtrack analyses. So I'm very lucky that I managed to find something that is a niche that I don't know that anyone else is doing. Anybody who's listening to this, if you happen to find somebody else who does the same thing, I would love to hear about them so I can take some tips and tricks from them and maybe talk with them, because that's cool. So it's like establish your niche and have a reason for you to either establish your niche, establish yourself as being a personality, or have something really unique to bring to the space that you're already in. Like again, in my case, like not only do I have the niche that I'm in, but I'm also like a person who experiences music very viscerally, is able to like taking a speech and debate background means that I have a vocabulary that is good enough to be able to explain things to people in a way that makes a lot of sense. And being a producer myself and having the technical knowledge, I think all of those things combine into the type of person that gets to talk about your favorite music in a way that allows you to speak about why you like about it, even if you may have not had the words to be able to talk about it, is a way that I'll put it. So find your niche, make yourself a personality, or find a unique thing to bring to a space that you really enjoy being in. Be perfectly comfortable with the fact that your content at the beginning might just be bad, or that it might just not do well, because that's the point. And then one thing that I tell a lot of people is, if you have if you have like a really unique thing about you and you want people to care about it, and specifically if you want other content creators to care about it, really don't have any shame in like reaching out to content creators, even if they are bigger than you. Not because I'm saying that anything is going to come out of it, but because sometimes it does, and as long as you come off like a human being and you come off as a person, if you try and frame yourself as kind of a professional in a sense, that will get people, even ones who are larger than you, to respect what you're doing and respect that you are coming off as a person trying to just have, like you're not just coming to somebody as a fanboy of their content. You can still have your fanboyish moments, but you really want to try and establish like, I am a professional and that is why I am reaching out, while also not being afraid to kind of tell them that like, hey, I really like what you do. I've had situations where I've reached out to content creators with 50 to 100,000 subs on YouTube and I only have 5,000. And some of those people have entertained my request, because they're like, I respect the way that you've reached out, and I've had a deceptively good conversation with some of these people. So if you have somebody that you think you might be able to offer something to, don't be afraid to just reach for it and just do it, because it might work. Most of the time it probably won't, and that's fine.
Gotcha.
And then, I don't know, like this is a kind of a generic thing that a lot of YouTube content creators tell people, but it's also like, don't be afraid to like creatively and subtly steal from other people. Like if there's a content creator in a niche that you like, and they do really well, maybe try analyzing their thumbnail style and seeing how you can use that to make your thumbnails better. Or they structure their videos like this. Find a way to make yours feel a little bit more put together or something. Or if it comes to being like a Twitch streamer or something, like look at what other people who are popular in the game that you are playing, like what are they? Twitch is a bad example. I actually don't know anything about Twitch. Twitch is a bad example, but it's like the point is like don't be afraid to creatively and kind of subtly steal from people, because most of the time, if it's not very insanely explicit, like you copied their thumbnail and then just like added one little thing to it, like as long as it looks different enough where they can still see the inspiration behind what you were taking it from, people actually do take a certain amount of flattery in that. They're like, oh, I noticed this looks kind of like this thumbnail. And evidently it worked because they're now on your video commenting on it.
Right. Yeah.
So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like establish unique things about yourself, and don't be afraid to use, like, to basically leverage what other people do that are doing really well, because evidently what they're doing is working, and it's getting them to a place that they're at now. So you can hopefully avoid a couple of the really small sort of trivial hurdles when you're trying to grow.
Yeah.
So hopefully that all made sense, and that the notes weren't all rambly. Hopefully you can go back to your notes later and decipher what I just said.
Only for sure.
So yeah, hopefully
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Hopefully that was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. And if anybody who's listening to this also has questions, like, there's tons of different ways to ask me about things. YouTube comments I'm paying attention to fairly frequently. Join the Discord if you want to join and ask me some random questions about stuff. I have a Twitter, so you can like ask me questions there. But this isn't the plug section. It is the plug section. It's not my plug section. This is your plug section. Right. Where can people find you?
All right. You all can find me on www.twitch.tv/DatGuyDP, and that is spelled DATGUYDP. And then, of course, if you want pretty much all of my others, you can definitely find me on, I think I'm starting to use beacons now. I'm trying to use like the hip stuff that a lot of these other folks are using. So I think beacons.ai/DatGuyDP. I think that's another plug that will link to all of my other social, my Instagram, my TikTok, of course, my Twitter, YouTube. It'll link to, of course, back to Twitch and everything else, and you can see my media kit there. And yeah, just thank you for the opportunity to come on here and talk about things. This is awesome time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad that I can give a positive experience to people on a podcast, or even if it's their first podcast. I want to make a good impression for people. So that's where you can find DP. All the links are going to be in the description. If you're looking for myself, all of my links will also be in the description. It's just DJ Cereal Sauce on anything, and there's a link tree in the description so that you can go and find anything. That's where we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you again, DP, for your presence. I really appreciate it. And to everybody out there, we're probably going to go back and play some like childhood games like Bomberman or something. I don't know.